COVID-19 numbers are reaching new highs now, with Oregon reporting a new daily record. The state had 1,122 new cases. It's the first time we've topped 1,000 cases in just one day. Health officials think part of the spike is people going to Halloween events. That includes small gatherings and parties with more than 100 people. Oregon also announced 4 more deaths. This is a graph showing the number of deaths every day. Thankfully, those aren't increasing nearly as much as daily infections, but the death rate often lags behind the uptick in positive cases. Morgan Romero is joining us now live in the newsroom. Morgan, we expect Governor Brown to talk about coronavirus today.
Right. Governor Brown announced last week that if hospitalizations and cases kept climbing, she would put new measures in place. Looks like we're going to find out what her next move is today at noon during a news conference. Over the past week, Oregon has reported its highest daily case count so far, with an average of 866 cases a day. Governor Brown already tried to slow the spread of COVID-19 recently. 9 counties with high transmission rates are taking a 2-week pause on social activities. Brown said in a recorded message yesterday that our communities and our economy will be hit in an unimaginable scale and more Oregonians will die.
Even more Oregonians are going to become infected with COVID-19 if we do not change course right now. Our hospital beds are filling to capacity and our doctors and nurses are working day and night. If we do not act immediately, we will soon reach a breaking point.
Cases are spiking in Washington state as well. The state reported, on average, its weekly case count doubled in just the last 2 weeks. In a live TV address yesterday, Governor Jay Inslee and his wife urged Washingtonians to change their holiday plans. They said, do not go to large indoor gatherings or get-togethers with people on Thanksgiving unless you're certain everyone is quarantined for 2 weeks.
So there is a lot more at our disposal to fight this virus than there was when the pandemic began. We are optimistic that Thanksgiving 2021 will be the best ever. But this year, it's just too dangerous to gather together indoors, where the virus can spread so easily.
Inslee's office said they are actively considering new restrictions there, and an announcement could come as soon as Monday. Meanwhile, we will stream Oregon Governor Kate Brown's news conference on KGW.com, on our news app, and on our YouTube page.
All right, Morgan Romero live for us in the newsroom. Thank you. Well, more people are being hospitalized for COVID-19, and this graph shows there are now 303 Oregonians currently hospitalized. And to help make space for those patients, several hospitals in the metro area have started to postpone some elective surgeries now. So according to the Oregonian, that includes Legacy Health, OHSU, and Kaiser Permanente. Unlike in the spring, when Governor Kate Brown ordered elective procedures to stop, this is voluntary. Providence and Peace Health in Washington say they haven't made any decisions yet to limit surgeries. Well, the Oregon State football team now the latest to be impacted by the virus. Athletic Director Scott Barnes saying one of his players has tested positive. 3 other players are quarantining now. That player tested positive earlier in the week, and they say there have been no other positive tests on the team. The Beavers are scheduled to play the Huskies this weekend, and Barnes says he is confident the game will go on as planned. Okay, if we look at the calendar, we know the election was 10 days ago, and this morning there is a whole lot to update you on. First, top election officials are refuting claims of voter fraud. We also kind of want to walk you through what's next in the process to make sure that each vote counts. But let's start with Arizona, because NBC News has declared President-elect Joe Biden the winner in that state. The updated numbers put Biden ahead by more votes than there are ballots left to count. The Associated Press and Fox News projected Biden the winner in Arizona on election night, but other media outlets felt it was just too close to call. This new tally gives Biden 290 electoral votes, but President Trump has yet to concede. A coalition of federal and state officials say they have no evidence that votes were compromised or altered in this presidential election. They even put out a statement refuting the president's claims of voter fraud. It reads,
The November 3rd election was the most secure in American history. Right now, across the country, election officials are reviewing and double-checking the entire election process prior to finalizing the result. There is no evidence that any voting system deleted or lost votes, changed votes, or was in any way compromised. The group includes the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency known as CISA. President Trump established that as part of the Department of Homeland Security.
Think of it this way. Election Day is by far not the end of the process. It's really the beginning. Once we cast our votes in person or by mail, it's up to each state to verify those ballots, tally the results, and review challenges if there are any. Then comes the next important part of the election, certification. The date of our national election is set by the U.S. Constitution, but it's counties that count the votes and the secretaries of state that certify or finalize the results, not the media. And the date for certification, it's different in each state. For example, in Arkansas for the November 3rd election, the deadline to certify results is November 18th. But in California, the state with the highest population in the country, they have more time. Their certification date is December 11th. In Georgia, a close battleground in the 2020 election, their Secretary of State only has 17 days till November 20th to certify the results, and no later than 5 p.m. Basically, national elections are really 50 state elections. And the results of the popular vote in each state determine which party's electors are part of the Electoral College. And the Constitution spells out exactly when the electors meet to vote for president and vice president as the Monday after the second Wednesday in December. This year, that date is December 14th. That's when the election will officially be over. All right, back here in Portland, a business in Southeast was damaged during a small protest overnight. This was on Milwaukee Avenue at Rapid Response BioClean. It's an interesting business to target. It's because the city contracted with them to clean up homeless camps around the city. There's been a lot of talk on the local level about whether or not these tent camp sweeps are effective or humane, and that could be part of the reason why this business was targeted. You can see people broke the windows and spray painted "Stop the Sweeps" and "Sweeps Kill" across the building. No arrests have been made.
Well, people worried that buzzing drones would ruin their neighborhood in North Portland can relax. The Port of Portland rejected a plan for a drone testing facility on its property. The company Skyward had its eye on a plot of land along the Willamette River just north of the St. Johns Bridge. It had been vacant for like 13 years. Well, the port wanted to lease it and make some money and create jobs, but neighbors there, they had concerns.
You know, having drones buzzing up and down the river day after day after day on a repetitive basis really undermines those efforts that have been ongoing for decades to recover this river.
So the port canceled the plans, but according to Skyward's website, it's discovered other locations in the Portland area to test its drones. The company didn't respond to our requests for more information about the specific locations.
Okay, let's talk about weather. Let's get to a live look right now. Ooh. How'd you like to be up in that? This is a live look at the mountain right now. Winter storm warning in effect in the Cascades. Our Bryant Clerkley is on his way this morning to government camp. There you can kind of see the Timberline Lodge. I didn't know what we were looking at besides blustery snow. We're going to check in with Bryant here in our next half hour.
Bryant, who last worked in Georgia, sunny Georgia. I cannot wait to see him up on the mountain today. We also want to talk about the Oregon coast because the Parks Department is warning folks to be careful. Starting Sunday, there will be especially high tides. I'm talking about November 15th through the 17th. That will bring the first of 3 king tides expected on the coast over the next 2 months. And, you know, king tides, they're those big whopper tides, and they happen when the Earth and the moon and the sun line up just right. That can lead to sneaker waves, which travel much farther inland. Parks officials say if you do come to the coast to watch those king tides, stay back, pick an elevated spot to watch them, and never turn your back on the ocean. And let us know how things are looking in your neighborhood. Text us at 503-226-5088.